Hello everyone! Welcome to Untold History, the channel where we explore the most fascinating and lesser-known aspects of history. Today we will delve into one of the most dramatic and transformative events in pre-Columbian history, the fall of the Aztec Empire in 1521. This event not only marked the end of one of the most impressive civilizations in Mesoamerica, but also opened the way for European colonization in the Americas. The Aztec Empire was one of the most advanced and powerful civilizations in pre-Columbian America. Its capital, Tenochtitlan, located in modern-day Mexico, was an impressive metropolis built on a series of islands in Lake Texcoco. The city was connected to the outside world by a network of causeways and canals, and was known for its monumental architecture, sophisticated political institutions, and vibrant cultural life. With a population estimated at over 200,000 people, Tenochtitlan was one of the largest cities in the world in its time, rivaling European cities such as Paris and Constantinople. Collapse of the Aztec Empire began with the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors led by Hernán Cortés in 1519. Cortés, a Spanish adventurer and soldier, arrived on the coast of the Gulf of Mexico with a small group of men, initially in search of riches and new lands for the Spanish crown. However, behind this mission of exploration lay a much greater ambition, the conquest of an entire empire. The encounter between the Spanish and the Aztecs was the beginning of a series of events that would culminate in the fall of the empire. First, the relationship between Cortés and the Aztec Emperor Moctezuma II was relatively cordial. Moctezuma, intrigued by the stories of the European gods and the unknown weapons carried by the Spaniards, received Cortés and his men as guests at his palace in Tenochtitlan. For Moctezuma, the Spaniards could have been sent by the gods or were messengers of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent deity whose return was prophesied in the Mexica cosmogony. However, the situation soon became tense when the Spanish began to show their true intentions, to conquer the empire and exploit its resources. Cortés cunningly kidnapped Moctezuma to control the city from the shadows, but this only exacerbated tensions. One of the factors that hastened the fall of the Aztec Empire was Cortés' ability to form alliances with enemies of the Aztecs. Among these allies were the Tlaxcaltecas, an indigenous group that had been oppressed by the Aztecs. These resentful peoples saw in the Spaniards an opportunity to free themselves from Mexica domination. With the support of these allies, Cortés was able to assemble a sizable army that added to his initial forces. This alliance was a crucial factor in the outcome of the conflict, demonstrating how local resistance against the Aztecs facilitated the Spanish victory. On June 30, 1520, the Spanish suffered a significant defeat in what is known as the Noche Triste, Sad Night. During the night, the Aztecs attacked the Spaniards' residence in Tenochtitlan, inflicting heavy losses on Cortés' troops. The Spaniards, who were trying to flee the city with huge amounts of gold and other treasures, were ambushed on the narrow causeways. Many of them died by drowning or at the hands of Aztec warriors, resulting in humiliation for the conquistadors. The survivors retreated to Tlaxcala, where they reorganized their forces. This temporary defeat put the conquest at risk, but it did not stop the plans of Cortés, who took advantage of the pause to strengthen his alliances and prepare a final offensive. In the following year, Cortés returned to Tenochtitlan with a renewed army and a more refined strategy. The city was weakened by a combination of continuous war, famine, and disease. Smallpox, brought by Europeans, had spread among the Aztec population, causing a devastating epidemic that drastically reduced the number of combatants and civilians. This pandemic was a mortal blow to the Aztec Empire, as it decimated its population, including many of its most experienced leaders and warriors. On August 13, 1521, after a long and grueling siege, Spanish forces finally managed to take Tenochtitlan. Resistance was fierce, but the Aztecs, led by Cuauhtémoc, the last Mexica emperor, were unable to counter the combined power of the Spanish and their indigenous allies. The city, which had been one of the most advanced urban centers of its time, was largely razed. The fall of the city marked the end of the Aztec Empire and the beginning of Spanish colonization in Mexico. After the capture of Cuauhtémoc, the organized resistance came to an end, and the city of Tenochtitlan was almost completely destroyed, on the ruins of which the Spanish would build Mexico City. The impact of the fall of the Aztec Empire was profound and far-reaching. The Spanish conquest radically changed the political, social, and economic structure of the region. The Spanish established New Spain, a colony that would become one of the richest and most extensive in the Spanish Empire. The wealth accumulated from natural resources and indigenous labor transformed the global economy and strengthened Spain's power in Europe. However, the brutality of the conquest and systematic exploitation led to the disappearance of entire cultures and the death of millions of indigenous people, whether from war, forced labor, or disease. This event also had lasting consequences for the indigenous population. The arrival of the Spanish colonizers brought with it disease, violence, and exploitation, which had a devastating effect on indigenous communities. The social and cultural structures of pre-Columbian civilizations were irreparably altered, and many aspects of Aztec life were lost over time. The imposition of Christianity, the destruction of temples, and the elimination of traditional religious practices marked a process of acculturation that forever transformed the identity of the native peoples. Despite the devastation, the legacy of the Aztec Empire persists in modern culture. Many of the Aztec traditions, art, and architecture remain an important part of the cultural identity of Mexico and Mesoamerica. The Nahuatl language, spoken by the Aztecs, still survives in several indigenous communities. In addition, the influence of the Mexica worldview can be seen in festivities such as the Day of the Dead, which reflects the mixture of pre-Hispanic and Catholic beliefs. Spanish dominance over Mexico was neither instantaneous nor absolute. During the decades following the conquest, there were numerous rebellions and uprisings by indigenous communities who resisted colonial oppression. Although the Mexica political structure was dismantled, cultural resilience allowed many traditions to survive in syncretic forms, integrating with European elements but maintaining their indigenous essence. To continue exploring more amazing stories, be sure to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey through the past. See you in the next episode of Untold History, where we will continue to discover the stories that have shaped our world. Until next time.